Something's gone wrong.
Hello and welcome along to round number 2 of 4 of Fanboy 3's OP-05 Win a Box tournament. It's Ben Fitzpatrick here with you, taking you through all of the action from the day's play. We hope that you are well and enjoying the show from wherever you may be tuning in from. If you've missed any of the former action from round 1, or indeed want to catch up and see the rest of the action from today, then make sure that you click on the playlist linked in the description and in the iCard in the top right of your screen. So we had Purple Luffy in round 1. Well, you're getting it again as well. Oliver to your left-hand side of your screen is going to be piloting Purple Luffy, and Ash to your right is going to be playing the Red Purple Lore deck. Another one of the decks that has seen and come into prominence and existence recently with the introduction and release of Starter Deck 10. And Trafalgar Lore has been one of the pick of the bunch as well, putting in a great result at the Liverpool Regional Championships recently, getting a second place finish in that event. I'm excited to see how this deck is going to be able to crash into this Purple Luffy build. Obviously a deck that relies so heavily on power manipulation, reducing the power of characters that are on board and using that lore leader ability to put Don back into your own deck and spin the characters to the bottom as well. But we're underway in round number 2. It was Ash that won the die roll, and he is elected to go first. And with one Don up and available, we are going to see a turn 1 play from Ash, and it's one of the brand new event cards from OP-05, a 1 cost. It's a searcher, able to look at the top cards of your deck and find a Straw Hat Crew Heart Pirates card, or Heart Pirates card, and chuck it into the top, or into your hand. And Beppo is going to be the target. The other two will go to the bottom of the deck, and the turn will be passed over to Oliver. Both these players, you can see at the bottom of your screen, 1-0, have won their first round matchup. As the turn 1 play, very similar to Calvin's first turn in round 1, is just going to be put Don onto your board and pass over. So turn 2 for Ash, nothing to start reducing at the moment. There's plenty of cards in hand. Looks like there's a couple of Beppos that are in there. Obviously one of them was just searched for on turn 1. I think that the idea is probably just going to be played down the wire, I think it is, that's in his hand. Here's the 5k swing though from leader. Happy to just counter away. And then 3 Don, and there indeed is the blocker wire, and reducing your own Don as well. Nice to get yourself some extra bodies on board, because of course you don't have to spin any characters away in order to gain the effect, the second effect of the leader. You can pay down a 4 cost or less, and you're able to put down that Shachi and Penguin as well. It's the ideal kind of link-up play for the Lore deck, as the turn is passed over to Oliver. Going to see the first use of his leader ability as well, hitting himself for 1 life and accelerating up to 5 Don. It looks like he's going to start swinging in as well. 6k at life. I think you're pretty safe to take this one if you're Ash. It'd be the first life that he takes of the game, and he does so. And it's just going to be a simple 6k vanilla for 4 as the follow-up for Oliver. And now the turn gets passed over. Back up to 4 Don for Ash, which is kind of the happy space that you want to be in as a red-purple lore player, to make sure that you're getting the effect of your leader to put those characters to the bottom of your opponent's deck and then play out some more lower cost threats, particularly to try and replenish the Don that you've just spent, like we saw last turn with Shachi and Penguin. Also the opportunity to use those Beppos that don't just get you a Don on play, but also when it starts attacking as well. So wonder if we'll start to see some of those cost reduction and power reduction effects. I do see just at the far left of Ash's hand there, it looks like it's a round table that's in hand, which will certainly put that character into more than enough range. And that's exactly what we're going to go for here as well. Round table will reduce that power by 10,000. And the 4 Don that are rested does mean that you'll be able to use them as well, because remember, you can use Don that are rested and attached to characters in order to pay for Don minus effects. As we see a couple of swings go in here. The first one from the leader was countered away by 1. The second one will have the same fate as well. Shachi and Penguin was countered. And then here goes the first leader effect of the turn. And it's exactly what we thought and what we said is kind of your bread and butter as a red-purple lore player. Spin away that character, reduce your Don, replenish it back up by 1 by playing down a character like Beppo. It's a really nice solid turn there for Ash. Has 2 character attackers next turn, a 3rd attacker for the leader as well, and a blocker just to protect yourself in wire in case any rush starts coming down on Ollie's side of the field. His first order of business, though, is going to be to use his leader effect. Hits himself in the face for 1 to bring him down to equal standings in the life count, 3 apiece. And now here comes the 7 cost Eustace Captain Kidd. Will pay the 7, return 1 Don back to his deck. That boosts Luffy up to 6k power to the end of his next, or the start of Ollie's next turn. Extra Don underneath it will make it 7, and realising that there's one quite tasty character morsel to try and take a bite into. We'll try and swing into the Shachi and Penguin, but Ash says no. This is where the blocker will come in handy. So over to Ash now. Back up to 4 Don, and this is where this matchup gets a little bit kind of interesting and cagey. Is how well is Ash and this red-purple lore deck going to be able to deal with some of those higher power threats? We saw, try as they might, the the grand finalist at Liverpool just wasn't able to keep up tempo against the eventual winner of the red-purple Luffy deck. Just couldn't quite get rid of these kinds of natural power levels of your 8s and 9s and 10s. Does take a lot of commitment and a lot of work to try and get it into that 4k or less sort of range for Trafalgar Law to spin away. Instead, it's just going to be pay 4, play a second Beppo. That'll put him up to 5 Don. And pass the turn, because I've not got anything that's going to be able to crash into that 6k and do anything of any note. So turnover with Ollie, whose leader is now back up to 5k. Imagine that will more than likely change very, very quickly, though, with Captain's Kid ability being able to be, while attacking as well as on play, can just put one of those Don straight back and push leader Luffy up to 6k once again. No blockers on Ash's side of the board either, so you imagine that any attacks that are going to be taken here, or going to go in here, might just be taken in case you can find any more sort of substantial power reduction tools like Otamas, maybe another round table as well. No deck lists needed to be provided for this event, so we're not quite sure as to how many copies of cards that the players are running here today. Instead, we are just going to see the big 9-cost Kaido. It's going to get rid of one of the Beppos with that Don -5 ability. So Kaido has Rush now as well. And then we're going to see the first swing be from the 7-cost kid. That's correct, definitely, in terms of the sequencing. As we talked about and mentioned earlier, it gives the opportunity to boost that Luffy right into 6k. And that swing will be countered. And now here comes the big 10, which has no choice but to be taken there by Ash. And all of a sudden, it is exactly that kind of conversation and that element that we feared. Is the red-purple law going to be able to keep up with the 8s and the 10s? And now, with a 6k leader facing down as well, it's going to be difficult to even get attacks through this turn. 7 Don left up available, ready for Ash to try and crack into this board state. There may be an argument here for just straight up attacking with the characters into Oliver's rested threats, that kid and that Kaido. There's 5 cards, it looks like, in hand for Oliver to potentially counter out with as well. A little glimpse into Ash's hand here. He's got an Otama. It looks like there's a promo Trafalgar Law, the red one from the film deck that was released all that time ago. I think there's a Blocker Queen in there as well if Ash just wants to play defensively. I'll remind you at this stage as well, if you're enjoying the content and want to keep up to date with not just the rest of the action from this event, but any future events that are held by Fanboy 3, we would urge you to hit the subscribe button. Not just One Piece events that we'll be covering, of course. So many card games are out and about. And this moment in time, Lorcana, of course, represented there by Oliver's wonderful Winnie the Pooh playmat. Also Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And card games in the future as well. Star Wars Unlimited right around the corner, which is certainly a game that I myself have got half an eye on. It's a very, very exciting time as we head into 2024 to be a card game fan. Ash still really considering his options here at the moment. It's a really kind of difficult board state to try and negotiate into here. Not quite sure what the right or wrong option is. Ash deciding that he's going to just hold back for now. He's going to play the Queen. That 5-cost 6k blocker that on play, Don -1, draw 2 cards, and then trash 1. I think just getting a reminder there that Ash needs to return one of those Don back into his deck. And he's now just deciding what he wants to get rid of. I think I see there's a Shachi and Penguin in there. There's a Brook, a Law, and the Otama that we mentioned earlier. He's going to elect to get rid of the 1-cost Purple Searcher event. 2 Don left. Could just potentially slide them both underneath the leader and swing 7. Instead is going to Otama. That drops Law down to 6k power. And then one more is going to swing 6 with Beppo. into the power-reduced Eustace Captain Kid. And it'll be simple enough for Oliver to counter away. And then I'll imagine turn will be passed very shortly. Is going to Don -3 first, though. Use the leader ability. Pull the Shachian Penguin to the front of his hand. You can see there instead is going to bring down the blocker Trafalgar Law from the started at 10. And the turn is passed over. I'm not entirely sure whether that was the right play there from Ash. I could see the thought process behind it and the argument for it, but I think it probably would have been more beneficial to slide the 2 Don underneath the leader and swing 7 as opposed to 6 into the Eustace Captain Kid. At least that way you're forcing the extra resource out from hand to counter, or you're just letting it go. So here comes a swing in from the 7 cost Kid. We'll use and link up some different effects there to return the Don and then replenish it with the newly played blocker Kid. And now 7 into life will be blocked and countered away. But what that does is just leaves a big, fat, juicy carrot dangling right in front of that 10-drop or that 9-drop Kaido's head. 10 into 6 is going to be very, very difficult to defend. Needs 5K's worth of counter to make sure that Queen sticks around. And I think that Ash has backed himself into a bit of an uncomfortable corner here in this game, in this situation. I think if the turning point was ironically using the round table a little bit too early. I think obviously it's unfortunate that he didn't realise or didn't foresee the ability to see that Kid come down. But really, since that 7-drop has hit the field, Ash has been scrambling to try and send it to the bottom of Oliver's deck. So we are now with Ash's turn here. The attack into the Queen was blocked by the Trafalgar Law. So with 5 Don left available, this is where I would have liked to have kept the Otama from last turn, because you can see there in Ash's hand he's got one more. So this is where you go. Double Otama reduces that to 4K. And then I believe at that stage it is in range of the Law Leader ability to spin it to the bottom of the deck, and it finally would mark one of the threats and the problems dealt with. So here comes 4 on play. He's going to reduce the power down by 2. So that's 6. Needs, what, 3 more to be able to get rid of it. That's the Otama down to 4. And use the leader ability. But it's 3K. It is 3K that the leader can spin back to the bottom of the deck. Just one short. I mean, I don't think with the Don that he had on his side of the field there, Ash, he was going to be able to do it anyway this turn. He's going to just play down the Shachian Penguin anyway. Pass the turn over. Potentially, he does have the opportunity to swing here. That's exactly what he's going to do. 5 into 4 will be blocked by Eustace Captain Kid, and then a second attempt will be countered away, and turn is passed over to Oliver. Potential for 4 attacks to swing in this turn. Only 1 blocker and 1 card in hand for Ash.
I was so lucky, so he attacked for like 12, but I had like 13 counters.
I think that's 7 Don available as well for Ollie this turn. Potentially looking at playing another character down, but I don't know whether you really need to in this situation. I think you just swing first and foremost with the kid, the blocker kid, or the 7-cost kid. That'll reduce 1 Don, and then you can bring that back straight away with the blocker. In fact, it's just going to start with the blocker. 7 at life is the call. Don't think we can't block. You can't counter this from hand, can Ash? So it's either use the blocker queen or take the life. Ash will take 3 more attacks potentially to come. 8 at life now. We'll stack the effects and bring the Don that he's just sent away back. He's going to be forced to crack the blocker queen and then counting it all up. Slide it all underneath the Kaido, and that will be that. Oliver will advance up to 2-0 in this winner box tournament, and Ash just unable to deal with those higher power threats, and that's not a bad little indication if you're a Purple Luffy player in the early stages of this meta. That is indeed going to do it for round 2. We thank you for tuning in. If you want to catch up on the rest of the day's play, the playlist is in the bottom of the description for rounds 3 and 4, and also to keep an eye and watch the round 1's game as well. But thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you in the next video.